Let me cut across to some breaking bit of developments which are coming in. Let's cut across to this latest piece of information as the Israel-Hamas war rages on. Top government sources tell CNN News 18 that India is in regular touch with its counterparts in Middle East and Europe, and the larger focus for India right now is to ensure that it can put in its effort and its bit into ensuring regional peace. India has already asserted that humanitarian crisis is something that we are concerned about, and an NSA level visit may happen very soon. That's the latest bit of information coming in. Our managing editor Anand Narasimhan with us on the broadcast to give us more perspective on this. Anand, what kind of efforts India can make?
Well, I think the biggest effort that we can make is that we can be very clear that as a country we not only stand in solidarity with the Israeli people, because Israel as a nation has been attacked by a terrorist outfit, but we are also saying that we are drawing a distinction between Hamas as a terror outfit and the entire Palestine state. So India has never said that we do not recognize the need for a Palestinian state. There is a two-state aspect, and there are two entities here, sure, Israel and Palestine. But the fight is Israel versus Hamas. So India's support to Israel is unconditional. The fight against terror is going to be waged. But more importantly, we are going to engage with the entire friends of ours like the Saudi, the UAE, Egypt, and be in constant touch with them to engage with them and to explain to them what India's position is, what's required. Because let's not forget, 14 to 15% of our population, nearly 25-26 crores of our population is a Muslim population, absolutely, which also understands that there is an underlying cause which many people feel very strongly about, that is the Palestinian cause. But to conflate both Palestine and Hamas is a mistake, and that's where I think the engagement is happening at a security level. There is a close watch on whether or not there are chances of escalation and things spilling over into neighboring regions and beyond just the Gaza Strip, and that is something nobody wants. The Saudis have been very guarded, but they've been engaged. They're great friends with Bharat, and that's why the NSA level engagements are happening, and we're hoping that even the Saudi NSA will be in India very soon, because these nations hold a clout on respective Islamic nations in that entire region, not just the Middle East, but also a lot of nations in Africa, where Egypt holds a lot of sway. And Egypt in the past has been in conflict with Israel. So, but they have a peace treaty going on there. So, what is a situation where victims are victims, innocents dying on either side is going to hurt anybody? So, how can that be avoided? How can collateral damage be minimized? And also accountability be fixed for false propaganda and for also the Hamas firing rockets on its own people. As we saw what happened at the hospital, and if we were to go by what the IDF claims, nearly 450 rockets out of the 11,000 rockets that have been fired towards Israel have actually landed in the Gaza Strip itself. So who's going to hold them accountable, and who's going to point fingers and de-link Hamas with the overall Palestinian cause? Because the Hamas's doctrine is different from what the PLO and the Palestinian doctrine is, and that's where the delinking is, because Hamas doesn't identify with what the PLO actually stated, and the Palestinian government, Palestinian state talks about peaceful struggle, peaceful protest and conversation, and a two-state aspect, whereas Hamas's doctrine says we need to wipe out all Jews. So there are two different aspects there, and I think India's position is clear on that front.
One more question before we move on to another bit of information. Whether it was the Russia-Ukraine war or whether it's the present conflict in West Asia, India has had a very nuanced position that, look, we might support one country or another, but the humanitarian cause is something that we are always concerned about. And even when that attack happened at a Gaza hospital, the Prime Minister tweeted about it and said humanitarian concerns continue to dominate the minds of the Indians. And when it comes to ensuring regional stability, do you believe India can more proactively pitch into that cause?
Well, that depends if these nations want India to intervene. As of now, what happens is the narrative is going to be between the Arab world and the West and Israel and the Zionist world. So somewhere there will be this entire underlying sentiment, because the Arab world will say that we have to stand with our Palestinian friends because we identify with them. Even there is a religious connect, and there is also an ethnic connect there. On the other hand, nobody wants victims to die. So be it the kibbutz community within Israel and what happened in the south of Israel, or with the innocents who have died in the Gaza Strip caught between this crossfire. It hurts. It hurts anybody, be it in Ukraine or be it in Russia. Wherever innocents die, they have no way to go. The larger question is, will India play a role in asking the Arab nations to open their doors to the Palestinian refugees rather than forcing them towards Europe or some other places. Why are the neighboring Arab nations not opening their doors and saying Palestinians are welcome? If you so stand in solidarity with the Palestinians, why are you telling them that this territory is not for us? You cannot come into my country, go somewhere else. Why is Egypt not opening its doors? Why is Jordan or Lebanon, and why aren't these nations, Syria, not saying that no, you can come in and seek refuge here? Iran, Iraq, why aren't they saying you come to our place? Why are they saying that you go elsewhere but don't come to our place?
That has been a historical criticism.
But I stand in solidarity with you. So these are aspects, diplomatic aspects, which now have to be asked. And whether or not India is able to prevail even on the Saudis to say, listen, we will open our doors if you want to come out. That's the big story. But we'll have to watch, because in the past, be it in the case of Rohingyas, be it in the case of Baloch, be it in the case of the Syrian cause, at all places, the Arab world, the OIC, 56 Committee of 56 Nations, has not opened its doors and shown its large heart when it expresses this solidarity. So you're looking at a humanitarian crisis, you're making a hue and cry about it, but you're saying, sorry, my doors are not open.
I can't do anything about it. Anand, please stay with us on the broadcast. There is some more latest news which is coming in, and this is about how the Chinese government has refused to carry out any kind of repatriation mission like Operation Ajay that has been carried out by the government of India. The Chinese nationals who are there in Israel right now and who are stranded have been told to take commercial flights and come back to the country. Various nationals of Chinese origin who are stuck there have to pay these skyrocketing fares, about $800 US dollars to about $1,200 US dollars if they want to come back to India. And this apathy towards its own citizens is something that needs to be talked about. Let me cut across to Anand once again. Anand, the Chinese government has not carried out an operation like Operation Ajay, like the Indian government has. How should we understand that? And more importantly, what does it tell us about the relationship between the Chinese nationals, the population, and the government of the regime there?
Well, we are doing Operation Ajay. Our ministers are waiting and welcoming each of the people, Indians who want to come back home. And there are flights with 2 sets of pilots and staff which are there to bring them back safe. That's who we are as Bharat. And if the Chinese state does not even bother and say that you pay your fare and we'll try and get you flights, but you got to pay your way out, and that's something which we are given to understand. Reports suggest some other nations also suggested to their people that we will help you out, but then you'll have to pay your bills. Well, that reflects on how much the state actually cares for its people and what the might of so-called China is, or the CCP is. And it's surprising because the number of people who are there, they've all gone there because they are plying their wares and they're representing China and the People's Republic of China. And if the Chinese state turns around and says that's the state of affairs about how much a state cares for its people, and it doesn't. So in our case, we can only say Bharat cares, China doesn't. And a lot of the Chinese people will turn around and say, all right, is there a cheaper way out of this country, and can I make my way, or do I really want to then go back, or rather stay put in Israel? So and we'll see how things are. Somewhere I think the assessment for the Chinese state is that these people don't matter. If they're living in Israel, let them live, and they've gone of their own will. We don't want them back. If they want to come back, let them find their way back. That seems to be the perhaps apathetic attitude of the...
it seems like that the Chinese nationalism is only there in the maps of China and not so much for its citizens. Thank you, Anand, for joining us on the broadcast and sharing that perspective. We'll continue tracking all the stories here on The Nation at 5. For now, slipping into a very short break. Stay tuned, stay with us.